Welcome to Gentle January, our alternative to the buy this thing to fix your entire life style start to the new year that most of us are used to. Today we are diving into the things that we have and the things that have us. This session is all about mindful consumption. I grew up in a stuff family. My grandma is a classic Taurus and she has a lot of stuff. My grandmother is probably one of the greatest maximalist and trinket collectors of our current time. If she has one, she has 20. Things like salt and pepper shakers, wall pockets, decorative cake molds, and a bunch of tiny other things. She loves it. That's literally her stuff. And while she puts it all nicely on display, it's very clean, it's very orderly, it's still a ton of stuff. Other members of my family are also stuff people. They like tools, they like to collect cars, they like shoes, they like purses. Growing up, we always had a lot of stuff, but we never had a lot of money, and that honestly does not make a lot of sense to me. When I moved away at 21, I packed a single suitcase and a large box. My next door neighbors helped me pack a box just like they would pack the boxes to send to the Philippines, so that thing was packed to the gills and safely arrived from LA to Philadelphia. I had the privilege of being able to leave my stuff behind when I moved away because I knew that my family would allow me to keep my stuff. But the reality is, everything that I left there, I slowly over the years got rid of until I stopped going home at all and I told them to throw it away, burn it, or keep it themselves. I personally do not love stuff. I am not a stuff person. I get overwhelmed when there's a lot of stuff because I really hate organizing. I love cleaning. I love to vacuum and mop. I'll do the dishes. I will wash and dry, even hang dry the laundry. But putting away the laundry, some of you already know. The same applies to stuff. I feel like if I have more stuff, it is more for me to take care of, and that is just something that's added to my list. Growing up the way that I did, I realized that I am, in fact, not my stuff, and my stuff is not me. Honestly, this way of living and growing up the way that I did helped me a lot in my ability to move. When we decided in early 2025 that we were going to move out of the United States to France, it was so easy for me to get rid of my stuff. Okay, it wasn't easy. But it was easier because I don't have a lot of attachment to my stuff. The idea of having less stuff, being more organized, feeling more content with what you have has had multiple iterations just over my lifetime on social media alone. We had minimalism influencers. We had the Marie Kondo situation. We've had books and TV shows about dealing with stuff. Now on social media, we have even more cyclical and seasonal trends around having less stuff or being more of a minimalist. I think every single one of these has its level of validity, but also a lot of pitfalls. Life is not one size fits all. Stuff is not one size fits all. These movements towards examining consumption and being more minimal and being more content with what we have, being framed as trends, is intentional because trends go in and out of fashion. Trends are meant to shift, they are meant to change, and when we look at stuff like minimalism or contentment or mindful consumption as a trend, it kind of sets it up for failure. A lot of the people who went all in on the Marie Kondo, I don't even remember what it was called. Oh my God. Like kiss your stuff goodbye, make space, make all these organization techniques. They did well. They got rid of a lot of stuff. But also that gave them room for more stuff. So when the trend seemed to fizzle out, they were left with space to fill. I've said it before in Gentle January, and I will say it again. I do not chalk any of this up to personal failure. Most of us walk around with an extremely individualized and smart advertisement system in the palm of our hand at all times. Customized ads based on your previous consumption habits are pushed out to you all day, every day in hopes that you will click one of them and follow through. These companies are counting on wearing you down by oversaturating your feed with ads, and they have the money to do it. As of 2025, the total ad spend on online and offline advertisements was $426 billion. $426 billion. And the wildest part is that is a $30 billion increase from 2024. When I tell you that they have the money to wait for you to spend it, They have the money. Admittedly, I'm already someone who has spent years interrogating my relationship with stuff. And that's not to say that I don't buy stuff. It's just I have interrogated my connection with buying stuff. I am not someone who follows a lot of people online who are constantly doing hauls and buying new things and getting amazing products. It's not because I don't like stuff. It's just because it isn't in line with how I consume. Regardless of me choosing not to really follow a lot of that content, it still comes up on my feed all the time. In 2025, I heard a lot of people online talking about Project Pan. This is a trend that gained a lot of popularity in the beauty and makeup niche of TikTok, but it has spread to other niches and people are engaging with Project Pan in their own homes for their own lives. The idea behind Project Pan is really that you're using your makeup or body lotion until it is all the way gone, until you hit the pan of your makeup or until the container is completely empty. Only then do you go out and buy a new one. I know it seems like a wild and very regular concept to a lot of people. That seems logical. I use all of my soap, I use all of my lotion, and then I go buy a new one. But I feel like Project Pan examines the way that we hold on to things and the way that we choose to spend our money and spend our time using those things. I decided to post a video about Project Pan a couple of months ago, kind of being a little clickbaity in the beginning and talking about how I think that it's a dangerous trend. What I mean by saying it was dangerous is that it pulls at this thread of stuffness and how we connect to our stuff, how we connect to our time, how we define contentment, pleasure, and freedom. That video went pretty viral, at least by Lauren standards. And I'm still getting comments till this day. Why are we talking about stuff? What's the big deal? Blah, 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 blah. Being a more mindful consumer is not just about saving money. It's about reevaluating where we put our time and where we put our happiness. I personally believe that a lot of people, specifically Americans, because I can speak from that point of view, I'm an American, are only sold pleasure. So much of our society is set up around us finding happiness through our next purchase, through our next adventure that costs money, through gambling, through makeup, through a subscription. You cannot access pleasure for free. Now, I'm not saying that many of us do not enjoy free pleasures, but the framing of having a good life, being content, and experiencing pleasure always circulates around spending money. With the way that our society is set up, we often feel like we're missing out if we aren't spending money on the latest thing or up to date on the latest clothing trends. In reality, we can access pleasure through very simple means. Going on a walk and looking for cats, talking to a friend on the phone, sharing a meal with a loved one, appreciating the things that we already have. Contentment will not be found through spending money on Labubu's, the newest makeup drop from your favorite celebrity, or clothing that is made of plastic. And that's no shade, because I'm definitely wearing clothing that's made of plastic right now, but like, am I happy about it? Not really. Buy, so you can be happy. That is extremely advantageous to big corporations who want you to keep buying things. It's also extremely advantageous to a labor market that wants to keep you working so that you can keep buying things. Being more mindful is good for you on an individual level because it could help you potentially save money. Mindful consumption can also benefit your community. When you are a mindful consumer or when you're thinking about how you buy stuff, how you use stuff, you may find yourself getting rid of some of the things you have. When we moved, I connected with so many members of my community, from my next door neighbors, people around the block, community fridges, people setting up housing for other community members. I donated to working wardrobe closets. I donated opened and already partially used toiletries and beauty products because there are community groups who can use them and will take them. I actually had no idea about that last one. I had no idea that I could donate partially used leave-in conditioner, but there was a place who would take it. This connected me to so many amazing groups in my community, and I also met a lot of really cool people because there were people who were coming from the Buy Nothing groups or the Facebook community groups, coming over and telling me about the things that they were going to do with this stuff. I love the idea of stuff that I wasn't going to bring with me getting a second chance and being reused by someone within my community. The same is true in reverse. You can go on those community groups and find something that someone has already paid for that they're looking to sell for a low price or give away for free. On the macro level, being a mindful consumer is good for the planet. I am pretty sure all the stuff you will ever need in your lifetime already exists and has already been made. And if it's made of plastic, we probably don't want to make any more. I love the idea of so many people showing things that they get from the thrift store, how they're reusing the things that they have. Even though I have never been a stuff person, it doesn't mean that I don't end up accumulating. We accumulate boxes when we get something that comes in a box, packaging inside of packaging. We accumulate jars. If anyone knows me, I'm always reusing a pasta jar as a water cup. Candle holders, promotional t-shirts, magnets, and things that sometimes our other family members think we actually want, but we're just like, what on earth would I ever do with this? Okay. The first step to being a more mindful consumer is actually knowing what you have. If you have a doom box, or 3, if you have that bag that you shove stuff in when people were coming over and then you put it in a closet, if you have a junk drawer, now's the time. If you do not know what you have, you are more likely to go out there and buy something to replace it, even if you have something to fill that space right now somewhere in your house. Growing up for my family, it was always scissors. I don't know why, but my grandma was always buying scissors. Knowing where your stuff is, having a place for your stuff, and being able to easily access it will make it easier for you not to go out and buy something all over again. And buy the same thing all over again. Mindful consumption and being more mindful of our stuff also asks us to be more creative. We have talked about that over and over in these sessions, different ways to be creative, different ways to get our mind and body connected. But using the stuff that we have and thinking about if we need to buy more helps us get a little bit more creative. Since moving abroad, I have had to get creative with clothing because I don't have a lot of clothing, and not all of the clothing is continuously seasonally appropriate. Most of you have probably seen me in this pair of jeans, but I've been wearing this pair of jeans since April all the way through summer, a little bit less in the summer, and now through the winter. This is a distressed pair of jeans with a hole in the knee, and I'm wearing them in winter by putting a pair of leggings under them. I have 3 pairs of jeans total, and these are actually the most winter appropriate. Sometimes you gotta get a little creative. You can layer things, you can crop things, you can tie things, whatever. Getting creative with the stuff that you have serves multiple purposes of getting your brain into it, getting active in your home, and also being more mindful about your consumption. Getting connected to community, reaching out and asking for help. You know people who you can loan something to. The idea of sharing resources among your community with people you do or don't know yet is so extremely powerful, particularly in 2026 and beyond, when we need to be building more connections. Going on your local community Facebook group. I know Facebook isn't for everyone, but having at least a profile so you can interact in your community groups and get to know what people are looking for. Maybe you have a stand mixer that you've had for years and someone bought you a new one for Christmas. And if they did, please give me that person's contact, because if they're buying people stand mixers, I want to be their friend. But seriously, maybe you got a duplicate of something for your birthday or for Christmas and you don't necessarily know what to do with the older one. Could you potentially sell that, resell that, or give that to someone in your community? With the example of the stand mixer, could you donate it to your local food pantry or community fridge so that the folks who are cooking there could use that piece of equipment? When we were living in Philly, there was a younger neighbor who would come over and occasionally ask to use our shovel when it snowed. Absolutely, of course you could use our shovel. We're not using it right now. Go for it. And almost every time he borrowed our shovel, he would shovel our walkway as well. That's community building. We don't necessarily always need every house to have a shovel. If one house has a shovel and one house has a young person who is willing to shovel, that's the perfect match. The last thing when it comes to examining our stuff and our relationship with our stuff is to take our time. Sometimes when we are looking at the things that we have, even if we're okay with getting rid of them, we get to the point where we touch something and it has an extreme amount of sentimental value. I'm not asking you to throw everything you own away. I'm not asking you to become a minimalist. I think that we all have things that we feel very connected to, and that's why sometimes examining our stuff takes a lot of time and a lot of patience. So how do you do it? How do you become more mindful? How do you examine your stuff? My goal for the stuffness of Gentle January is to either find a way to reuse some of the things that I have or find a place that I can give them that they could be reused. Maybe for your Gentle January, it is just appreciating the stuff that you already have and love. Is there something that you've been meaning to hang on the wall? Is there something that you've been meaning to wash and put in a different location? Is there a pair of scissors somewhere in your house that you know exists and you don't need to go buy another pair of scissors? All of these things are good check-ins with our stuff because we want to have stuff. We do not want our stuff to have us. I will leave you with one final comment from my Project Pan video that was doing numbers on TikTok. The comment says, "I notice when I'm happy, I don't buy stuff." Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Love you so much. Bye.